Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my precious pack, and welcome back once more to VEGA Conflict. Today's video is actually for the lower level players, specifically around Tier 3 to Tier 4. And it involves the Alien Strike. You're going to be attacking the Strike Xeno 50. Now, I haven't tested the fleet against them yet. I've tested against the 40 and 45, and they performed fairly well. The goal is to make a simple fleet anybody can use and farm a certain target. As such, I took the same ships I used when I originally advanced. I'm taking the same target, however higher level, because when I advanced I used 3 fleets of a mix of Exodus, Revelations, and Furies, with a simple goal of just rushing the target. The Furies would typically die before anything else did, because they were the battleship of the group. However, they did extremely well, and they could typically farm for prolonged time frames. However, this fleet is not built for that. It is built for sustaining itself and rushing the targets down. And as you can see, the fleet does not lack damage per second. Each individual ship has 340 damage per second because they're equipped with nothing but lasers, mixed with a maxed out burr, as well as recharging shields. So if there's even a 10 or 5 second, I can't remember which it was for levels, I think it's 10 second, delay through which they are undamaged, they'll begin to recharge their shield, increasing the longevity of the ship through combat. The end fitting is the Mark IV that I have, whereas the beginning fitting is the Mark I. And this same fitting is achievable with the Mark I. You might have to remove a little bit of armor because it's fairly tight. But the Mark IV is essentially just all level 3 armor, a level 3 rechargeable shield, level 2, rear chase thrusters for the maximum forward speed, and no range boost because the weight of the ship limits it. But this is just trying to go with the most bare bones item that anyone can get their hands on easily without having to farm a plant strike or anything like that. Well, you'll most likely have to farm a plant strike if you want to get thermal beams easily, unless you want to go down Manny's insta-fleet path, pick up the weapons, then build this fleet. But let's go ahead and let's take them into a 50 and let's see how well they perform. Okay, here we are in a 60, a F50 I mean, and what we're going to do is we're going to break the ships up into 2 groups, Group 1, Group 2, and you're going to have Group 1 attack the one on the corresponding side. Just depends on which group you want to attack which one, but I'd advise just rushing right towards the target. The goal of this is to get to the target as quickly as possible, and using cruisers with rear thrusters 3 allows you to have the highest amount of survivability. It's not the best way to get this because the repair time, and you could always use higher tier cruisers, which should naturally be recommended, but this is the lowest one that I was able to produce that can easily farm the targets without being completely wiped out by the target. And if you want, you can trade out the middle cruisers of both groups and exchange them for a Fury battleship equipped with a mix of missiles and energy weapons to actually deal with the squadrons on the closing in. Because while it's closing in, the fight is fairly simple and easy. But as you can see, the shields are holding. And that's what you want. You want the shields to hold, because if they fail, naturally it's going to be a long amount of repair time. And when the fleet is fully built up, it will be precisely, with an all Mark IV set, it will be exactly 13 hours of repair time, not a second over. But that was for 6,000 Alien Strike points, so it's a tedious grind. As you could see, you lost quite a bit of health from that one fight. But the goal is you're going to have multiple of these fleets, and you're not going to spend a week at a time building a ship. You're going to take about half a week to build each and every single individual ship. And the longest fitting time is going to be the weapons. The armor is going to be the lowest. And at Mark IV, each and every single one will be able to carry the same fitting, same armament, and same everything else. And that means that you'll be able to go through longer sets of fleets. So your goal is just to create a mass fleet of essentially cannon fodder, with the goal of mass farming during an alien strike to get rewards. let's go ahead and let's take a look at the alien strike that's currently going on. We got harmonic exophase stuff, so it's the carrier and specialist fleet. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go through and pick up the items that would be most beneficial for your advancement. Carriers, naturally, drones, things like that. But what you're going to do, since you're going to have one fleet to start with while you build up additional ones, you're not going to be able to get the carrier because they're overpriced, and the fleets for the lower level targets are... You could play pinball with your fleets and do stuff like that, but I wouldn't recommend it because... Well, I could recommend it, but I'd have to take time to think on a better fleet fitting and things like that. But for now, the goal has been achieved. Beat the target with a fairly low level fleet and a fleet commander, with tech that can be acquired for just about any tier 3 player that has sufficient time on their hands to be able to farm for the initial fittings. And then it's just a matter of farming up the rest of this stuff. But that is all for the target, and the easiest thing to look at, you get 6,000 points for a 50. 60,000 for a drone, so you have to hit about 10 of them. The fleet took about 10% of its damage, if I'm not mistaken. 1 hour, 24 minutes for that, except for it's not on a single ship, it's spread out. So if you want, you can always pull the fleet apart, lightly repair them, and then send them back out, which is typically what I do. I would maintain the ship with the lowest health, because it was typically the one that took the most damage, and I would repair it specifically for the set duration that it had to. But that's it for this video, everybody. In the next video, which will be tomorrow, there's actually going to be 2. There's going to be one talking about the decimation, the prizes. Well, one of the prizes is going to be talked about in the earlier video in the day. But we're going to be talking about the new fleet commanders, the base upgrades, and things like that, because we had the new mines and stuff like that added to the bases, as well as the additional levels for the hangar bays, well, the hangar modules. And it is over a 10-day upgrade time for each individual hangar module from a 15 to a 16, so you're going to look at over 60 days worth of upgrades for those modules. That's it, everybody. I hope this helps some of you lower levels out, being able to advance a little bit more quickly. I do apologize about the fact you're going to have to build multiple of your fleets to be able to advance easily, but due to the alien strike only running for 24 hours, most of you having work, school, things like that, you need multiple of these fleets to be able to farm quickly in the short time frame you may play the game. And they just repair the fleets over the duration of the week in between the events. And then pick up more gear and just keep going until you have enough to be able to step up into the Axis tier, and that's the tier you're going to be aiming for with this objective. But that's it, everybody. There isn't much else to talk about right now other than the final video for the week on Friday. There's only going to be one, like I said, and it's going to be a concept idea. And again, I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be entertaining. But everybody, be safe out there in the void, and as always, I will see you in the next video.